partnership to bring you trusted local businesses, keeping Ocala local. Use hyper.directory, no triple W, not even .com, just hyper.directory, connecting customers to businesses when it matters most.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. On this Thursday, lots of sunshine, the high 77 to 81. Clear to partly cloudy Thursday night, with lows ranging from the upper 40s and low 50s in a few inland spots to the upper 50s along the coast. For Veterans Day, mostly sunny and pleasant, the high 77 to 81. Saturday, partly sunny, high 78 to 82. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 12 minutes before 10 o'clock. Beautiful looking Thursday. As we get close to the end of the year, I've been noticing a lot of advertisements for seasonal work, job opportunities for those people who just want to work throughout the holiday season. And just this morning, I saw some advertisements for some jobs for veterans that are not seasonal, that are actually full-time and some pretty good jobs. In fact, Disney's got one for, oh my gosh, what was it again? Pest control. I know that sounds weird, pest control in Disney, but they've got one, and they're specifically asking for a veteran. Jeanne Meister is on the phone. She is a founding partner of Future Workplace. She's a regular contributor to Forbes. She's the recipient of the Distinguished Contributions in Workplace Learning Award, and she's a best-selling author. Jeanne's book is called The Future Workplace Experience, 10 Rules for Mastering Disruption in Recruiting and Engaging Employees. Let's find out what this is about. Jeanne Meister, good morning, Jeanne. Thank you for waiting through the break there.
Good morning, Larry and Robin.
Thank you for being there. Where are you calling from?
I am calling from New York City, where it is also beautiful and sunny this morning.
Is it cold there today, though?
It's a little cold. It's, I would say, in the 50s.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
It's
that's
perfect.
Good. Well, thank you for being on the air with us. So what does it mean, disruption? What do you mean by disruption and engaging employees? What does that mean?
So for us, we did a lot of research with heads of HR, and disruption means new technologies entering the workplace, like collaboration platforms, like artificial intelligence, like predictive analytics, and how this is changing the game. So that's one disruption. Okay. The other disruption has nothing to do with technology. It has everything to do with multiple generations working together and multiple cultures.
Oh, really? Okay. Now that to me is pretty interesting. I mean, the first part of what you just said, I can almost relate to it here, because in radio, I mean, we went from having to be a person-driven medium. I know a lot of radio stations don't use guys like me. They use computers. And then they have like one person who does voices, and that voice is what you hear all day long. So, I mean, I understand that part. But as far as working the multiple generations, is that, gosh, I think in my younger days, that was always the case. I was working with older guys. Now I'm the older guy.
Yeah, exactly. We are all the older guys and gals. In this case, it's a little different because people are staying in the workplace longer, boomers, and even some traditionalists. So in many workplaces today, we have 5 generations working together. And what we've seen is the phenomenon of the older employee and the younger boss. And that age difference can be, and we researched in our book, sometimes as much as 15 or 20 years difference.
Okay. And does that present a problem because the older worker doesn't want to change his or her ways, and the newer technology makes the newer way actually better, but the older one is resistant or reluctant?
Well, it's not the natural order of things, right? And so there's a little bit of a generational conflict going on, and some companies are handling it in pretty interesting ways. They're actually creating training programs. So you heard of emotional intelligence. Well, the next new thing is generational intelligence, really focusing on the similarities. How are we all going to work and identify each other's strengths and work together.
Okay.
So it's pretty interesting what companies are doing. We interviewed a number of people at IBM, and they're really focusing on using these generational groups as focus groups, right? And to really figure out what do they think, depending on their generation, for new products and services.
So does the book guide us through that process so that we can maybe do it in a little bit more streamlined way?
Yes. Each chapter, there are 10 rules, and we just talked about one of the rules called TAP, multiple generations at work. So each chapter at the end has an action plan. What do we think we could do for ourselves? What do we think we can do for our team? And what do we think we can do for our organization?
Do you touch on relationships within the workplace in your book?
Sorry, Robin. Try it again. The mic was turned off. Sorry.
Do you touch on relationships in the workplace in your book? Because sometimes that could be detrimental to the company.
Yeah, so relationships in what way, Robin? In terms of working side by side?
A love interest.
Oh, that. Okay.
Yes. Sometimes that's a downfall.
Well, right. So that's like each company handles that in their own special and unique way. So I have to say that we didn't really touch upon it in the book. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of, however each company has, a policy on how they handle those kinds of things. But I do think that as we all work together and the days get longer, right? Gallup says we're now working 47 weeks a year. So, we're going to be all working together and stuff's going to happen in the workplace.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm curious? You said the younger boss and the older employee. What about the younger female boss and the older male employee? Is that a different scenario than just the younger male boss scenario might be?
I think it is, right? And there's, gender. There's just a lot happening with gender in the workplace, and I think the big takeaway from this sort of generational potential conflict is that companies are starting to recognize it, do research on it, and figure out how to best work on it. And that's why you see an influx of programs. You see what's called employee affinity groups. Called intergenerational, like they have veterans groups now. Companies have veterans groups that are volunteers, volunteer groups, right? So now they're starting with generational groups to just air out some of the potential conflicts before they erupt in the workplace.
And your book is wonderful because you've written it in such a way that you, through the workplace, are treating everybody with equality and treating everybody with respect. They all have something to offer.
Yes, absolutely. And and there is this whole new focus on unconscious bias. And we dealt with that in the chapter on Build Gender Equality, which focuses on women, but also on what men can do to further promote and sponsor high-performing women on their teams. And so, that was really trying to get underneath what are some of the unconscious bias and how do we take action around it. First we have to be aware, and then what do we do about it?
I wonder, if I go back to my younger days in the workforce, I remember having ideas that I thought would make the business improve or make the workplace smoother running, or any ideas that I might have had. And then, of course, as the young guy, you go to the old guy who's sitting in the CEO seat or whatever, and you present the idea, and they didn't always listen, as if I had a good idea. And I'm sure I'm not alone in this. But I look back at that and I say to myself now, as I'm an older guy now, I say, did I really have a good idea, or was I just full of myself? And I think, I had a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Okay. But what I think as an older guy is I have to remember the younger me, because that younger me could be working here. That somebody else in my old shoes. Nobody wants to be in my old shoes, by the way. But but anyway, so but I think the respect of saying, you know what, a younger guy or younger gal might have an idea that we older people might not come up with, and we should listen to it. And I think that's, I guess what I'm getting at is when you've been in the workforce your whole life, you might either resent the younger person, or you might remember that you were that younger person at one time. And I think those two different ways of looking at it would change the way you respond to those people. I'm sorry it took so long to get that out, but do you know what I'm saying?
I do, Larry, and that's a really good point. How to give all employees, regardless of their age or any other factor, a voice in what they think is needed to be changed in the workplace. And we sort of end up with the last number 10. The rule number 10 is be a workplace activist. Regardless of your level in the organization or how long you've been in the organization, if you see something that needs to be changed, step forward and see if it could be possible. Mm-hmm. And there are some examples of companies doing that. But I want to do a shout out for someone that a company in the South that I interviewed pretty extensively, and that's Suntrust Bank.
Oh, okay.
And,
that's my
bank.
That's Robin's bank.
Is it? Okay. They're doing a great job, Larry and Robin. And they because they're looking at the whole employee. They did some research with working adults and their own employees, and found that less than 40% saved $2,000 for an emergency. And importantly, they didn't feel confident that they had a level of financial literacy to really help them in their personal lives. Mm-hmm. And so what Suntrust has done is created an entire, financial literacy training program. And what's even better is if you're an employee and you finish it, you get $500 into your savings account or 401k.
Sounds like a good incentive.
At Suntrust.
Jeanne, thank you. Thank you for being on the air. The book is called The Future Workplace Experience. Jeanne Meister is the author. Call me if you want the copy that was sent to us. The rest of us have to go buy it. And real quickly, is there a website? We've got 10 seconds.
Absolutely. TheFutureWorkplace.com, and the book is available on Amazon, The Future Workplace Experience. Thank you, Larry and Robin.
Thank you, Jeanne. This is WOCA Ocala.
News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. President Obama is getting ready to welcome his successor to the White House in a short while.
President Obama vowed to do everything he can to ensure a smooth transition to a Trump administration. The president and Mr. Trump will sit down in the Oval Office. First Lady Michelle Obama will meet with Mrs. Trump in the White House.